Today's video is really short. I'm just going to talk very briefly about the Northern Lights and how they've been visible really far south recently. And I actually got to see them last night. And that's the first time I've ever seen the Northern Lights in my life, and saw them way down here in Oregon. And so let me know in the comments if you also saw the Northern Lights. I guess if you live kind of far in the north, I'm almost at the 45th parallel. And so if you live around that area or north of that, check out the sky in the north. I don't know if it's going to be visible tonight, so obviously you can't go back in time. Let me know if you saw them. And yeah, it was really interesting. It didn't look like what it looks like in Alaska, but I certainly could see the sky glowing in a way that wasn't normal. And it's actually interesting because I was just talking about this in my previous video, how God made light before he made the sun. And so the Northern Lights, I think they are actually connected with the sun, but the point of that statement is it has something to do with the layers of the upper atmosphere glowing. And I think that that's what daytime is. Daytime is separate from sunlight, and the upper atmosphere is glowing itself. And maybe in a similar phenomenon, I don't know exactly, but yeah, I do believe that daylight and sunlight are separate. They're always going to come in here with the cartoons. They have to rely on cartoons. You'd think 2024, they tell us that there's like a cajillion satellites up there. You think that we'd be using real photographs of it all the time now. You would think that there would just be tons of real photos to be able to grab, that we would have weather satellites out there pointed at the sun, or some satellites at a Lagrange point somewhere giving us live feed image of Earth or getting real images. But no, it's just non-stop reliance on cartoons. Partially, I mean, here this almost looks like a composite. They're drawing cartoons on top of possibly a real image. Another thing to know, though, is just anytime you take an image, taking a photo is not real life. It doesn't look like that. And when amateur astronomers take photographs of the heavens, more often than not, they're taking like tens of thousands of images and using a computer to mush them together. That's what most people think is real life. But just taking a single photograph of real life will never be what real life actually looks like exactly. And especially when you're taking photos of lights, it looks even less realistic. Like, of course, when you take an image of a person, it looks like that person. But when you take images of lights, it doesn't even look like it. The way it appears on the photograph looks so different than what it looks like with the naked eye. But I mean, you could even get into taking images of people. If you're using different focal lengths, you can make the same individual. If you're taking studio portraits of somebody, you can make them look very different just by changing your focal lengths. And I'm not a photographer. I don't know the details, so I'll just leave it at that. Keep on reading. Oregon catches spring heat. I wonder, it has been unseasonably hot. I mean, thank God. It's been beautiful. It was so warm again today. Yesterday it was so warm. And I wonder if that is connected to whatever the solar... So, I guess, what is this video even about? I don't know. Just questions, I guess, that I have. Did anybody hear about this? So I feel like I did hear possibilities of Northern Lights being really low, like very far south. I feel like I did hear about that earlier in the year. But do they not know to tell people, oh, hey, Oregon, you're probably going to see it? Do they not know to tell people that until they see a big solar flare? Like, has anybody been really paying attention to the news and they're like, oh yeah, they've been telling us that we could see it in Oregon this past weekend, and they've known about it for a week? Or did they... My theory is that they've just known that the sun has been storming a lot, so they've been warning people like, oh, you may see the Northern Lights pretty far south. And then when they see a big solar flare, they know, oh, okay, we're going to be able to see it pretty far south. Interesting things though. I wonder if I got the screenshots of it. It talking about how it actually acts kind of like a weather phenomenon where it's not, you're not even guaranteed to see strong northern lights all the time. It can come and go. They said it's like rain, how on a rainy, cloudy day, it doesn't necessarily have to be pouring all day. It can pour and then stop and then sprinkle a little bit. And I guess the northern lights can act the same way in their strength. I don't know. This is new to me. But the sun doesn't really look like this. They're always, this is like the electromagnetic component of the sun. But they often pass off these images of like, this is what the sun looks like. But the sun doesn't look like this at all with the naked eye. And the sun is a light. I think that they want you to think the sun is this soupy, boiling, like hot ball of gas. That is actually, they're telling you that when somebody's full of hot air, that means that they're just making stuff up. That they're just talking a lot without saying anything. And that is what is going on when they tell people about the sun. It's all this gas, the convection. They're going on and on about stuff that's not true. I'm not claiming to know the nature of the sun, but I know that it's not a spinny space ball of gas under nuclear or whatever. No, it's a light and it's electromagnetic. And that's what I believe these solar flares, I think, are just when they're seeing changes in the whatever the electromagnetic aspect of the sun. Like, does anyone know exactly what filters are being used when they get these types of images? But this is not visible spectrum. That's not what the sun looks like. They're displaying visually some other data. That's not necessarily, what it looks like. It's an image from NASA, so probably Photoshop. Get out of here. Okay. Wind time. Is this just an AI written article? When time will the northern lights be visible in Oregon? The particles. So really taking that particle definition, or whatever you want to call it, interpretation, it's probably like a wave, right? Are they really particles, or is it just that is an interesting scientific thing, the wave particle duality. God made creation in a very mysterious way. And yeah, I don't know, who am I to argue that when a solar flare happens, it's particles and not a wave? Who knows? It's the same thing, I guess. The best time to watch is from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Yep, I was out late at night when I saw it. I'll show you a picture of the, I guess, kind of what it looked like, but I'm telling you, pictures will never match what things look like in reality. This was ridiculous. The reason that that's oh, why does this seem so difficult to read? The reason is that's the darkest part of the night, and that's when the Earth's shadow is directly above us. What a bunch of BS. I just wanted to stop and talk about how much BS this was. One thing about reality that does not match NASA Outer Spaceland, if NASA Outer Spaceland was true, everything would be continuous in a slow, continuous process. The days would gradually get longer until they hit the longest time, and then they gradually get... It's not like that at all. Spring and fall are transitional seasons, and the day-night length is varying greatly if you don't live near the equator. And I just don't know how it works there, honestly. People who live at the equator would have to chime in what goes on through the year. But it's been more obvious to me now that I live up in Oregon that when winter is turning into summer, the length of the day gets so much longer so quickly, and it's like all of a sudden the sun is already staying out so late now, and it's not gradual. It happens very quickly, and in like discrete days. It's like from one day to the next. It's like it seems noticeable pretty much. But the Earth shadow at 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. By 11 p.m., my point here is that at 11 p.m., the sun has only been down for a couple hours. And they're saying that that's when the Earth's shadow is directly above us. So a couple hours after sunset, the sun is supposed to be like on the complete other side of the Earth. Is that what I'm supposed to believe from this? Yeah, that's a bunch of BS. That's not how night works. The sun just goes outside of your viewpoint, and it does get a little more complicated because I think the firmament is like a giant lens. But the point is that when objects get too far away, they fall below the horizon, and then you can't see them anymore. That's how optics works. When objects are too far away, they go down underneath the horizon, and then you stop being able to see them, because that's just how vision operates. Your eye doesn't have infinite resolution and the ability to zoom in forever and to see as far away as you want to. That's not how vision works. So there's a horizon, it's a vanishing point, and objects, as they go farther and farther away from you, they recede until they go behind the vanishing point, and then you just can't see them anymore. That's how vision works. There at the bottom, they were talking about the rainy night, if you want to check it out. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration upgraded a geomagnetic solar storm watch from level 3 to level 4 on Thursday. They haven't issued a severe warning since 2005. So on Thursday, this is what made me think that it's all very sudden. That they don't know to say, hey, you're going to see it until they see a big storm. I don't think that they can predict these things. But I think that they've known that the sun has been crazy this year, and I don't know, what, grand solar minimum? I don't know. The sun, I guess, has cycles, just like everything. And what you're going to find out is that reality follows human timelines. And that contradicts everything that NASA says. Everything that school tries to teach you is that the human experience is insignificant and that you couldn't possibly study anything of any significance because you're just a blip. If what they told us about the universe was true, there would almost be no reason to even study something because the time scales are so beyond the human experience that you would need to collect data for generations and generations and generations before you had a long enough time span to be able to predict how things are moving. But things change quickly. And the sun has cycles that, is it a 14-year cycle or something? I don't know. Someone's going to have to chime in. What's the cycle on the grand solar minimum and the whatever? It's not going to be 14 bajillion years. How, if everything that NASA tells us, it takes 1,000,000 years to do that. It takes 1,000,000 years to do this. Why is the sun's cycle like 14 years or something? And why does a solar flare happen in the span of a day? Like a solar flare happened on Thursday, and we're seeing it on the weekend, and that's like, we're experiencing it now. NASA thinks, why doesn't a solar flare last like 1,000 years or something? Do you get what I'm getting at? That's just something that the more I pay attention, the more I notice that real life follows very small time scales that are human digestible. But everything out of NASA's mouth is going to tell you that you're too small, you're too insignificant for any big picture anything. Because you're just a little tiny speck on, how long ago were dinosaurs supposed to be here or whatever. So, I am rambling. Where's our satellite photos? I thought we have a million. We have so many satellites that it's like space debris or whatever. Trash. Too much space trash. But where are all the photos? Why don't you have a nice photo for everything? Why don't you have a million And you notice that they just have a bunch of cartoon artists on staff. This bright orange is one of their favorite colors. Orange equals 33. This has already been a big ramble. Well, I didn't really plan on rambling so much today. You can see the vertical. So what I will try to do is explain the way it looked like in real life, because it did not look like this to me with my eye. There was more light pollution. So it was a lot more like fuzzy, and the color wasn't so vibrant, but I did see that pink reddish color. You could tell there was some greenish-ness towards the horizon in the north only. And so I guess that's an important thing. It's not like this glow was everywhere. It was only in the north. You look north and you could see this. An interesting thing about the North, almost every flat earther out there uses a map that has the North in the center. I think that's a deception. I think the North is the outside. It's where the edge of the firmament is. If you wanted to get to the edge of the firmament, I think you would have to go north. I don't think that would take you to the center. I think Antarctica is in the center. The book of Job says that the North is stretched over the empty place. And I think there might even be some other hints, but I don't know. I strongly believe that what made me think of this were a couple things. One, I'm skeptical of everything. So when the mega flat earthers come out and they say, "Oh, look at the UN flag. That's what the earth really looks like." I'm like, "How do I know?" I was just initially skeptical of that. Why am I going to not trust NASA and anything I was taught, but now I'm just going to believe you, exactly what you're telling me? And in fact, I kind of take a contrary thing. If everybody's just handing this out and everybody agrees on it, that's probably not right. Because that's not the way that I learned truth, by going along with what everybody else was doing. That was actually how you usually found the deception, by just listening to everybody else. So, and then somebody showed a picture and it just clicked. Do you know when things just click? You don't even have to understand why, but it just clicks. Somebody sent me a picture or whatever. I don't remember the circumstances, but I saw an image of Earth with Antarctica in the center and all of the continents spread around, and it clicked. I was like, that is it. That is what Earth looks like. And you know what? It looks eerily similar to the craters on the moon, which I think gives a lot of credibility, whatever word you want to use. It gives a lot of credibility to the theory that the design we see on the moon is somehow a reflection of Earth. I think that there's some truth to that, and it looks a lot like the map of Earth when you center it around Antarctica. Did I even say this is not what it looks like in real life? It was much more blue. It looked a lot more like a normal night sky. You know, take a picture of a normal night sky and mix it with this image 50-50, and that's probably what I saw. So the camera was picking up a lot more than what I could see with my eye. Maybe that has to do with the fact that it's a light. It was emitting its own light. What else? I've rambled so much I can't even think anymore. I'm just gonna leave it at this. I'm exhausted. Hope you enjoyed the video. God bless everyone.